Imagine looking up, like at the night sky, and genuinely believing the moon isn't just a rock trapped by gravity, but an actual manufactured appliance.
Right, like a giant street lamp.
Exactly. A literal piece of hardware installed in the sky by celestial engineers just to give you some light.
It is wild to think about.
Today, we are stepping into a reality that completely rewrites astrophysics, deletes the Big Bang entirely, and claims your memories aren't even inside your head.
Yeah, they're out in the ether somewhere.
Right, they are stored in a cosmic Wi-Fi cloud.
I mean, it is the ultimate paradigm shift. We are looking at a total ground-up rewrite of reality, where the physical world is essentially just a stage set.
Yeah, and the rules of biology and history are just, well, completely flipped upside down.
Totally.
And that is our mission for today's deep dive. We are unpacking a wild, genuinely fascinating document from 2007. It was written by an author named Zhua Feng, and it is titled 18 Traditional Values Subverted by Lifechanyuan.
That's quite a title.
It really is. For you listening, this text outlines the core tenets of a framework called Lifechanyuan. We are talking about an ideology that claims to completely overturn the fundamental human understanding of the universe, our minds, and even how we should view our own families.
And just to set the ground rules for today, we're stepping into this purely as explorers.
Right, 100%.
This text has some incredibly controversial takes on major world religions, physics, and social structures. And we aren't here to endorse, validate, or, debunk any of these claims.
No, not at all.
We are simply mapping out the fascinating architecture of this specific worldview. We're studying the blueprint of a very unique house, but we aren't moving in.
Perfectly clear. We are just here to examine the machinery of this belief system. So with that established, okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because if we want to understand how this text tells us to live on a random Tuesday, we first have to look at the universe it builds for us to live in.
Right. You need to know the setting before you learn the rules.
Yeah, exactly. And this document aggressively redefines the very beginning of existence.
It doesn't start small, that's for sure. I mean, modern secular science points to the Big Bang, right?
Right.
A purely physical material expansion that eventually resulted in us. Well, Lifechanyuan fundamentally rejects a mechanistic origin. Point 6 of the text actually states that the universe is the direct outcome of a singular consciousness.
A consciousness.
Yeah, an entity it calls the greatest creator. So the universe didn't explode into being, it was thought into being.
Wow. That immediately changes the stakes of reality. I mean, if the universe is a thought experiment, it implies the physical world isn't solid or, accidental.
Exactly.
But who or what is this greatest creator? Does the text give this entity an origin story, or is it just the standard, like, I have always existed concept?
This is where it gets incredibly specific and where it really starts subverting established traditions. Point 3 proclaims that the greatest creator comes from Wuji Taiji.
Wait, Taiji. I've heard the term Taiji thrown around in martial arts and Eastern philosophy, usually referring to the balance of yin and yang.
Yeah, Tai Chi.
Right. But what does it mean in the context of creating a universe?
Well, in foundational Chinese philosophy, Wuji refers to an ultimate, limitless, formless state.
Okay.
It's pure, infinite potential before any duality or physical form exists at all. And then Taiji is the emergence of order and duality from that potential.
Oh, I see.
So by saying the greatest creator comes from Wuji Taiji, Xu Feng is synthesizing deeply rooted Eastern mysticism with a very rigid, almost hierarchical creationist structure.
So the creator isn't the absolute beginning.
Right. The creator is a manifestation of the infinite void.
I mean, I see where they are going, but they are also bringing in very Western concepts of a personified creator. Are they trying to, merge these different global religions into one cohesive system?
Not merge, exactly. It's more like a hostile takeover.
A hostile takeover.
Yeah, the document actively demotes other major religious figures to establish the absolute supremacy of its own framework.
Oh, wow.
For instance, points 4 and 5 target both Western and Eastern traditions. It acknowledges that traditional concepts consider God to be the supreme being, but Lifechanyuan argues that gods are actually created by the greatest creator.
So they are lower on the ladder.
Exactly. Gods are merely the sons. And then it pivots to Buddhism and explicitly strips Sakyamuni, the historical Buddha, of his ultimate authority.
Just completely demotes him.
Yeah, giving the title of ancestor of Buddha to the greatest creator instead.
Wait, so why keep them around at all? If you were building a brand new religion from scratch, why not just say Buddha and the traditional concept of God simply don't exist? Why go through the trouble of including them?
Because co-opting existing beliefs is often much more powerful than denying them outright.
Huh. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Think about it. If you tell someone their entire worldview is a lie, they get defensive. But if you tell them, you're right, God and Buddha exist, but they actually report to my guy, you offer a bridge.
That is super clever.
It creates a cosmic corporate structure. And we see this again in point 7, which acknowledges Adam and Eve, but strips them of their universal significance.
What do they say about them?
It claims they are merely the local ancestors of the Middle East, not the progenitors of humanity.
Oh my gosh, it is a massive reorg.
It really is.
So it's essentially a cosmic corporate org chart. The greatest creator is the CEO or the founder. You have the gods as the regional managers. But wait, if the gods didn't make us, who was actually on the factory floor doing the physical work?
According to point 2, that job falls to a class of entities called super celestial beings.
Super celestial beings.
Yeah. Lifechanyuan claims life wasn't a product of evolution, nor was it handcrafted by the gods. Life was engineered by these super celestial beings who operate under the leadership of the gods, following the blueprints of the greatest creator.
They are the cosmic engineers.
Exactly.
And this brings us back to the hook I threw out at the very beginning of the show, which is honestly my favorite detail in this entire document. Yes. Point 9 claims that the moon isn't a natural satellite formed by gravity and, space debris. It explicitly states the moon was produced by these super celestial beings and installed in the sky.
What's fascinating here is how this single claim completely reframes the human experience.
Right.
If the moon was literally manufactured and installed to provide light, it implies the physical universe isn't just dead, indifferent matter.
It's intentional.
Highly intentional. It means the cosmos is a highly curated, custom-built prop designed specifically for human interaction.
So it's like the super celestial beings are the engineers who literally installed the moon in the sky like a giant custom bed nightlight.
That is exactly how they frame it.
It makes the universe feel less like a massive, terrifying void and more like a terrarium.
Yeah, a terrarium is a great word for it.
But if the physical universe is just a prop, who is the audience? I mean, it feels like this entire cosmic architecture is just setting the stage to talk about the human mind.
And that is the exact logical leap the text makes next. If the physical universe is merely the downstream product of the greatest creator's grand consciousness, it perfectly sets up Lifechanyuan's radical views on the metaphysics of the mind.
Okay, I'm ready for this.
Point 15 tackles this by completely inverting traditional materialist philosophy.
Now, when you say materialist philosophy in this context, you mean the idea that our physical environment and our biology are what dictate our thoughts, right?
Yes.
Like, I am hungry because my physical stomach is empty, therefore my brain thinks about food. Existence determines consciousness.
Precisely. Lifechanyuan proclaims the exact opposite. Consciousness determines existence.
Oh, wow.
The physical world doesn't shape your mind shapes physical reality.
Which explains the rather bold claim in point 13. I remember the text argues that a beautiful future shouldn't be built by physical labor, but rather by the creation of mind.
Right.
Are they essentially saying that manifesting reality through focused thought is literally more effective than picking up a hammer and physically building something?
Yes, they absolutely are. They are elevating human thought to a literal reality-bending power. And they anchor this immense power in a very specific reinterpretation of culture.
Okay.
Point 8 claims that the true core of Chinese culture isn't Confucianism, Buddhism, or Taoism. The actual core, according to the text, is something called holographic order consciousness.
Holographic order consciousness. I mean, that sounds like a concept from a cyberpunk novel.
It really does.
How does a hologram apply to human spirituality?
Well, think about how a physical hologram actually works. If you take a standard photograph of an apple and cut it in half, you only have half an apple. You lose information.
Right.
But if you take a holographic plate of an apple and shatter it, every single tiny shard still contains the entire complete image of the apple, just at a slightly lower resolution.
Really?
Yeah, the part contains the whole.
Oh, wow. So if we have holographic order consciousness, it implies that every individual human mind isn't just an isolated fragment of the universe.
Ugh.
Every single mind contains the entire blueprint of the cosmic order. We have the whole universe inside us.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it explains why they believe thought is more powerful than physical labor. You aren't just a physical body trying to manipulate matter. You are a holographic fractal of the greatest creator's consciousness.
That is heavy.
It is. Which brings us to the concept that completely unravels standard human biology. Point 14, their explanation of human memory.
Oh, this part absolutely broke my brain.
It's so strange.
We are taught that memories are physical, right? Like neural pathways, synapses firing inside the biological tissue of our brains.
Standard biology, yeah.
But Lifechanyuan says human memory does not exist in the brain at all.
That at all.
It exists in the subconsciousness, and that subconsciousness is located out in space-time.
It fundamentally detaches your core identity from your physical biology. Your biological brain isn't storing anything.
But wait, really? If my memory is stored out in the vacuum of space-time and not inside my own skull, does that mean our minds are basically just cloud-connected terminals?
Pretty much.
Are we just accessing a cosmic Wi-Fi router every time we try to remember where we left our keys instead of saving files on a local hard drive?
That is the perfect way to visualize it. Your brain is not a hard drive. It is essentially just a web browser or an antenna. The actual data of you is stored in the cloud of space-time.
That raises so many weird logistical questions.
I know.
Like, when I forget something, is it because the memory degraded or because my biological antenna just has a bad signal today?
Maybe there's cosmic interference.
Right. If I get a concussion, I didn't break the data, I just damaged the receiver.
Exactly. And think about the profound implications for how you live your life.
Yeah.
If consciousness dictates existence and your true self, your memories and identity are woven into the eternal fabric of space-time, rather than a decaying biological body, then the stakes of everyday life are completely altered.
They have to be.
The rules for how you should behave, how you are judged, and how you interact with others must be totally different from what traditional society teaches.
Right, because if biology is just an antenna, who cares about the physical rules? Which brings us to the daily application of this cosmic theory. How does Lifechanyuan redefine morals and the human experience? Let's start with judgment.
Okay.
How does a universe built on holographic consciousness actually hold you accountable?
Well, most major spiritual frameworks focus heavily on the end of things, right? A final judgment day or an afterlife where your deeds are weighed in a cosmic courtroom.
Sure.
Point 16 throws that concept out the window. It states there is no final judgment. Instead, life is judged continuously, every single second.
So it's an ongoing real-time audit.
Yes.
But who is doing the auditing if the greatest creator is off being infinite?
You aren't being judged by a personified entity or some king on a throne. You are judged by the Tao of the greatest creator.
The Tao.
Right. It operates less like a moral courtroom and much more like the law of gravity. It is a constant ambient force that you are interacting with at every moment.
And the way you communicate with this divine force is also completely reframed. I was reading point 17, and it states that you don't need scripture or temples.
No, you don't.
It calls nature a wordless book and says that all changing phenomena in the world are the direct words of the greatest creator.
That's a really poetic way to put it.
It is. If you can read the changing weather, the seasons, the environment around you, you are communicating directly with the divine.
It democratizes spirituality, making it entirely accessible, but it requires the practitioner to maintain a very high, constant level of spiritual observation.
You have to be paying attention
You
constantly.
have to be hyper-aware of your surroundings at all times.
Yeah.
And this real-time, non-personified view of morality sets the stage for one of the most surprising twists in the entire text. Point 18 completely redefines the concept of Satan.
Oh man, this is a massive subversion. For anyone raised around Western traditions, Satan is the ultimate adversary, right?
The ultimate bad guy.
The embodiment of evil, actively trying to destroy humanity. But Lifechanyuan proclaims that Satan is actually a god, not an enemy, but a firm supporter of the greatest creator, whose explicit job is to maintain the symmetry and balance of the universe.
It entirely removes the concept of an absolute dualistic evil. Satan's a villain trying to corrupt your soul. Satan is just the cosmic structural engineer making sure the building doesn't lean too far to one side.
It's like finding out the villain in a movie isn't evil, he's just the accountant trying to balance the budget.
That's exactly what it is.
And because they've removed this terrifying idea of an absolute punishing evil, the way they suggest you live your daily life is surprisingly devoid of guilt and suffering.
Yes, look at points 11 and 12. Traditional asceticism, the idea that spiritual purity requires suffering, denying yourself worldly pleasures, and maintaining a deadly serious attitude, is rejected entirely.
They just toss it out.
Completely. Lifechanyuan claims to have a clear cognition on heaven, and therefore, self-improvement must only be pursued through joy and happiness.
And they double down on this with romantic connection.
Oh, they do.
Point 10 specifically attacks a traditional spiritual trope that seekers need to abstain from romance. It proclaims that love is a precious gift endowed by the greatest creator, and people should fully enjoy the love without restraint.
It sounds incredibly liberating.
It does. It paints a picture of a joyful existence where you manifest reality with your mind, read the universe like a poem, and enjoy passion without guilt.
It presents a highly appealing, frictionless, utopian vision. It sounds almost too perfect.
Which is the perfect setup for the rug pull. Here's where it gets really interesting, because despite all this emphasis on boundless joy and fully enjoying love, the very first point of this entire document, point 1, drops a bombshell.
It really does.
It states that while traditional concepts view the family as the source of a happy life, Lifechanyuan proclaims the traditional family is actually the miserable source of human life and humanity. Yeah, the family is the root of misery.
It is a staggering contradiction to traditional sensibilities.
I am genuinely struggling to reconcile this. For you listening, think about this paradox. How can a philosophy advocate for boundless joy and the uninhibited enjoyment of love, but simultaneously declare that the core unit of human connection, the family, is the literal source of human misery?
It seems totally backwards.
Right. Why would a belief system that wants you to be happy demand that you view your parents, your spouse, or your children as a source of pain?
This raises an important question about the structural mechanics of high-demand belief systems. From a purely analytical standpoint, when a framework identifies the traditional family as the root of misery, it is usually employing a mechanism of isolation.
Because if my primary loyalty is to my family, my loyalty to the belief system is inherently divided. My family will always pull my focus.
Exactly. The family is a localized, deeply bonded support system that operates outside the control of the ideological framework.
It's an independent cell.
Right. So if the family is labeled as the source of misery, the logical solution for a practitioner is to detach from those traditional bonds. And once you sever those ties, where do you direct your inherent human need for love and connection?
Oh, I see. You direct it entirely back into the group. You find your joy and your love exclusively within the parameters of the Lifechanyuan worldview.
The love they encourage in point 10 isn't the messy, fiercely independent love of a biological family. It is a generalized, ideologically aligned love shared only among those who accept the cosmic architecture.
That makes a lot of sense.
By dismantling the fundamental social unit of the family, the belief system attempts to recenter the individual's devotion entirely onto its own structure.
That is quietly terrifying, but logically brilliant from an organizational standpoint. It's like they are clearing the land to build their own house.
That's a great analogy.
They systematically bulldoze the Big Bang, they bulldoze the historical Buddha, they bulldoze the concept of a physical brain, and finally they bulldoze the family unit. Once the land is totally clear, their new reality is the only thing left standing.
It is a profound example of how philosophy can be incredibly expansive and liberating in its cosmic theories, yet intensely restrictive in its practical social application.
Man, we have covered some immense ground today. Let's just briefly recap this wild journey for everyone listening. We started by looking at a universe born from infinite potential rather than a physical explosion.
Right.
We learned about a cosmic org chart where celestial engineers literally manufactured the moon to give it a nightlight. We explored the idea that Satan is just universal accountant keeping the balance sheet even.
Just balancing the books.
And we dove into the mind-bending concept that our memories are floating in space-time cloud storage, all while traditional family bonds are actively rejected in favor of a joyful but highly controlled ideological reality.
It is a massive amount of conceptual architecture to process.
It really is. So what does this all mean?
I think for you, the listener, whether you are analyzing data for your job, organizing your week, or just trying to navigate reality, it is easy to assume that everyone on Earth is operating with the same basic foundation of physics and history.
We take it for granted.
We do. But examining a document like this highlights the extreme lengths to which the human mind will go to generate entirely new systems of meaning. It reveals our deep psychological hunger to explain our existence, even if it requires overturning every single biological and social fact we take for granted.
That's so true.
It proves that for the human mind, reality is highly malleable.
It is a staggering reminder of the sheer creative and sometimes destructive power of belief. And as we wrap up, I want to leave you with something to chew on. At the very end of the source text, the author, Xu Feng, notes that there are actually hundreds and thousands of traditional values subverted by this group.
He says this was just a preview.
Right. He only provided these 18 as a primer and literally challenges the reader to summarize the rest by yourselves.
It is an open invitation for the practitioner to continue dismantling their own reality piece by piece.
So here's a thought for you to ponder on your own. Something that wasn't covered in the text, but builds directly off its internal logic. If this framework completely rewrites things as fundamental as where your memory is stored and how biological families function, what do you think their explanation is for something mundane, like sleep?
Oh, that's a good question.
If your physical body is just an antenna, why does it need to power down for 8 hours a day?
It suggests the biological limitations are an illusion, or perhaps just maintenance for the hardware.
Or taking it to its absolute extreme, how do they explain human death? If your brain is just a web browser and your memories, the actual data that makes up your consciousness, are permanently stored in the space-time cloud, does the concept of you ever really disappear when the biological receiver stops working?
That's super interesting to think about.
Does this system even allow for true mortality?
Yeah.
We spent this entire deep dive looking at how this blueprint says we should live, but it really makes you wonder how a system like this defines the end, or if an end even exists at all.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the muddy, mind-bending waters of alternative realities. May your foundation always be where you left it. We'll catch you next time.